Hi folks, welcome back to Pop Pop Fizzle. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Heidi.
And we're here to talk to you about the Season 2 finale of Jessica Jones, which was called AKA Playland. We've been going through 3 episodes at a time. We did 1 through 3, we did 4 through 6, we did 7 through 9, and we just finished 10 through 12. This, however, is going to be our finale recap and review, and then we're going to talk about sort of the series as a whole, this season in particular, and how we feel about the direction that it's gone, and how we feel about the season overall. So, if you're watching this video, we assume that you have watched the entirety of Jessica Jones Season 2. This is clearly marked a spoiler discussion.
Yeah.
So if you're here and you haven't watched it, shame on you. Hop over to Netflix, watch Season 2 of Jessica Jones, and then come back and watch this video and let us know what you thought in the comments below. In the meantime, we're going to dig right in.
Yeah. Okay.
13 episodes in this season. It felt... like for me, it felt like the pacing was a little up and down through the season. We had this great episode in the last 3 before the finale where Tennant returned as Kilgrave. We got the nice setup of that and sort of what's going on in Jessica's mind and in her heart. And then we got this sort of showdown with her mother in the last episode, which ended with Jessica realizing that she couldn't kill her mother. Even if it was the right thing to do, she just couldn't do it.
Her mother had no problem braining her with a gun.
Yeah, and that's where we left things.
Yep.
So we pick up this episode.
Yep. So AKA Playland, and we are we on the road already?
Yeah, we start off in the RV.
Yeah.
Some music playing.
Right, and so Jessica's kind of still out cold a little bit, kind of coming to, kind of hearing what's happening,
and she wakes up to find that her mother's taken her. And one thing I noted in their discussion, and I know that they were trying not to make Mom the villain, per se, and we even talked about that in our last video.
Yeah.
But some of what she says to Jessica about, the way that she talks about hurting other people and the way that she says, but I can be better if you'll help me, if you'll do it. It sounded very much like an abuser trying to convince the abused to stick around.
Yeah.
That, and maybe that's not by accident, that the parallels were there.
Yeah.
And so even as her mother's sort of making this pitch, I was finding it really hard to buy.
Yeah.
I understood Jessica's wanting to buy it. And I understood her hesitancy in buying it. But as a child, of course, you would want to know that you would want to believe that your parent could get better, whether it's from an illness or whether it's from a mental issue or whether it's from, whatever. And so for Jessica, there's some part of her that hopes that it doesn't have to end as badly as she thinks it's going to.
Yeah, throughout the series, we've heard, like, after the revelation that this Alyssa is her mother. She says, how do I get to keep my mom, or this is how I lose my mom. And so this is definitely at the forefront of her mind. She's weighing all of these things, and ultimately, we see that she wants to be with her mother, regardless of everything else that she's had going on in her life or has going on in her life. She wants there.
Given the brokenness of the character of Jessica Jones, I'm not sure that it's still not that abusey relationship.
Yeah.
That she's very well aware of what her mother's capable of, and she pretty much knows that what her mother is saying is probably not true.
Yeah.
But she still wants to believe, and so she does.
Yeah.
And I thought that was good writing. I thought it was a good parallel, and it put us as viewers in the right frame of mind. That we understood Jessica, we understood her motivation. We also understood that no matter how good that motivation may be, that her mother's probably not going to change, and that it's probably not going to end well for anybody.
No.
So I thought that was good. We go back to the hospital where Trish had been freaking out and all of that.
So
she was unconscious.
Yep, and now she's there.
And her mother screams the name Patsy because her mother's the one that calls her Patsy. The doctor saying, Trish, Trish, Trish. And her mother goes, Patsy! And she opened her eyes.
I'm telling you, she's Patsy. She's not Trish.
Yeah. So, anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I like that she said your bedside manner blows.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good line.
Not wrong.
Yeah, totally not wrong there. I thought it was interesting too. Again, another parallel sort of I made in my head while I was listening, especially to the Alyssa Jessica stuff, is that basically the deal that Alyssa offers her is the Vader deal. Come with me and we'll do this together.
Ah, yes, and we'll rule the galaxy as mother and
Yeah,
daughter.
and she doesn't say that we'll rule the galaxy, but she says, we'll find a way to help people. We'll find a way to use our powers. Why should we listen to what other people have to say? We've been given this. Why, and it's really the Vader deal. It's come with me and let's do this together.
Yeah, that's good. The Vader deal.
I questioned what Malcolm was up to. We saw him shaving his
head a little bit, just trimming up, and then meeting with Chow. So we know that he's been working on this back case that Jessica kind of threw back there because obviously her mom's more important. So he's confronted Hogarth's one partner Benowitz, and now he's going to meet with, and he got some information from him. Now he's going to meet with Chow. So
that was a good setup.
Definitely good setup.
It left me, before we got sort of the resolution, it left me wondering what Malcolm was up to, and what he was thinking, and all of that. So
I'm curious about his alias that he used, Millard Graves.
Yeah.
Is that a name that means anything?
It doesn't mean anything to me, but
it could be something for that character. We've unfortunately, we've gotten hints dropped about Malcolm's past and who his parents are. Or
I was surprised we didn't get some follow up with that.
Yeah, but I feel like maybe this is something like that name probably means something. So we might still get payoff for that some other time. But we not
after that little after that little hint of whatever he was up to, we went back to Jessica and her mother saving people from a car crash
with a
propane truck, tanks going off everywhere. And it was, I thought that scene was good because, one, we get to see, maybe her mother's willing to try, doing the right thing, but also we get to see Jessica be a hero. Like actually, not just, hey, I happen to be here and it's kind of, but like, okay, I'll go rushing into this terrible situation and save some lives.
And the thing is, like, what they, I guess it was, it's a family and then a propane truck. So
and you could see that it made her feel good.
It did.
And I think she doesn't think about her powers that way.
No. But what I found was really interesting is that the driver for the propane truck, I guess, who it was, it was the heat was everything was burning all around them, and you could hear him, and she's like, but he's still alive, and her mom's like, no, just leave him because it's too hot, you can't get in there. And it's like, and that's the difference between the two,
and her,
and because regardless of whether or not it was going to be a danger to herself, she still wanted to get in there. And so it's that's the hero right there, and the difference between somebody who's powered and somebody who actually cares.
But now here's what I think is an interesting thing about Jessica's character. I think if you replace the character of Alyssa and Jessica, and you put Jessica and Luke Cage there, Luke Cage would have been the one going into the fire, and Jessica would have said he's already gone. I think she would have said, because I think Jessica is willing to be the hero if nobody else is willing to be the hero.
Yes.
But if somebody else wants to be the hero, I think then she's like, let somebody else deal with this.
Yeah,
whatever.
She doesn't want to call that attention.
But if she's in that space where she's the only person who can affect change, then she's willing to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an interesting thing about her character. She's not just a good guy. She's not a square-jawed hero type. No. She's not.
She doesn't want the attention.
But there is something heroic in there. And so as messed up as Trish is in her quest for power, she's very much right about Jessica that you need to be more than you are. You've been given something, you need to be more.
Yeah.
And Jessica fights that all along the way.
Yeah.
We again see Jess with the super, and again she's trying to be protective of him even though she needs a favor. She likes him. And that was cool to see.
Yeah.
And she, when he's trying to understand why are you doing this, she brings up how he talks about his son. That's a relationship that you can't really explain to somebody else, and it carries with it certain things, and so this is something I have to do.
Yep.
I thought that was handled well.
Yeah, definitely. Also,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say also just really, still very PI of her to be able to recognize that he was followed, and, even though the super knew or thought to himself that he hadn't been, he was, not somebody who does these sorts of things, even though he's an ex-con, he covered his own tracks as well as he knew how, but because he knew that, because she knew that the people would be able to make the connection between she and him, and she saw the law enforcement markers everywhere, she knew that he'd been followed, and that was, good on her, of course, she likes him, but also good on her to realize that it wasn't his fault.
We see Malcolm show up at Jerry's apartment.
Yeah.
Clearly he has had a hidden camera on him when he went to go meet with Chow.
Yep.
He tells Jerry that she's going to want to see what's on that tape. And then we see Jerry walking very confidently into the offices.
Cat who swallowed the canary.
Yeah.
Oh, she was just so excited about this.
Hogarth, Benowitz, and Chow. She walks in very confidently.
Oh, yeah.
And sits down and demands more severance, and which they laugh at and say that they'll see her in court. And then she reveals that what she has on tape is basically a confession of sorts to some underhanded dealings that Malcolm was able to acquire.
Yep.
And she puts that together with what everyone knows about what he previously learned about Benowitz. And she basically says, here's what's going to happen. You're going to double my severance package, and I'm going to take away all of my clients, including Rand.
Yep.
And they're like, that's ridiculous. That's half of our billable hours. And she says, no, that's 62%. So she basically says, listen, even the whiff of this in the wind is enough to turn clients away from you.
Yeah.
And the only way this stays quiet is if you let me have what I'm asking you for, which they, of course, do.
Yeah,
so she gets double her severance. She gets 62% of their clients. She's a total shark.
Oh, yeah.
And then you would think that she would be somewhat grateful to Malcolm.
No.
And Malcolm's like, good, I want a job. And she's like, yeah, you don't even have a license. I'm not hiring you. Doesn't matter that he delivered all of this to her on a silver platter.
She paid him well. She paid him well.
We didn't see how much she gave him.
No, but it was enough for him to say okay.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, I think her hiring him would have been completely out of character for her. She would not. That's not her.
Anything nice or decent is completely out of character for her.
This is so.
But
and that's okay. That's her character, and given what we've seen and learned about her, that's like, it's expected. And it's not a terrible thing because we need a character like that in a show like this. So and that's fine.
So then we get Jessica still on the run with her mother. A phone rings, and we find out that her mother saved the phone or didn't throw out the phone that was in the RV. The phone call from Detective Costa. And Costa's like, look, we know you're helping your mom, but this is coming to a head, and there's no way out of this. So far, you haven't done anything that you can't turn away from, but your mother has, and I think you're one of the good ones. You need to stop this now. And I thought, good on him for
saying it,
knowing that after what's happened to his partner, after whatever, that he knows that in the broad scheme of things, Jess is one of the good ones. Don't go down this road where you can't come back.
Yeah, she's not the threat that he's looking for, and that's. It's very often that we see, like I mentioned in a previous video, that cops are just stupid in shows like this. We got to root for the vigilante because the cops just don't know what they're doing, and it's refreshing to see a police officer who actually has a mind of his own and is willing to take these chances and really look at things objectively.
And his other good moment in this episode came after that point when he goes to talk to Trish, and Dorothy is like, don't get my daughter involved in this, and they shoo Dorothy off, and then Costa's talking to her, and he said, she's helping her mother, and Trish is like, she wouldn't do that. She's being held against her will. You need to help her, and he's like, no, she's helping her, and she said, I don't understand, why would she ever even think about doing that? And he said, we only get one mother.
Yeah.
No matter how crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay, so wisdom from him there. Yeah. And that he doesn't, that's not condemnation from him.
Yeah.
He understands it. It's not what he thinks is the right call.
Right.
But he understands it, that she's put in a place that I'm not in, so I don't understand that.
Yeah, and he also puts it in terms that, Trish or Patsy should be able to understand given her mother.
Right. So, she doesn't, but she should be, it's just that Trish is crazy.
And the thing is, just despite being told, yes, Jessica is helping her mother, she just doesn't want to believe it, and that comes into play later on.
And so he asks her in that conversation if she knows where they might go. And Trish and I made this note, she is a terrible liar for somebody who used to be an actress.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there is nothing convincing. Like, that was the only moment in this episode that made me think badly of Detective Costa.
That he
didn't read her goofy face when she told that lie. Mm-hmm. Like, it was so clear and so telegraphed and so over the top.
So good acting. Good acting on the actress here to be able to telegraph that as well.
I guess, but I would have rather it been convincing.
No. I don't know.
I didn't need to know she was lying until we found out she was lying.
Yeah, but it's
because then it just made me think badly of everybody who bought it.
It's in keeping with that character, though. I mean, she may have been Patsy, and but how good was she really?
Yeah.
So it might have been in keeping with that.
And so it's the conversation with Costa that Jessica has on the phone, where Jessica doesn't really even say anything. She just listens to him talking. Mm-hmm. But it's that conversation that really Alyssa overhears and realizes that I'm taking my daughter down this road from which there's no return. Mm-hmm. She's going to be labeled with every horrible thing that I've done because she's helping me, and she could be something better. Mm-hmm. Which then turns her thoughts to, I've got to find a place where this can all end.
Yeah.
They end up at Playland, which is, we've heard referenced in this series as the place where they used to go when Jess was a kid. Mm-hmm. They used to take
somewhere up
her brother there.
Yeah, somewhere up in Westchester, New York.
And
we joked about finding that school as a safe house.
Yeah, and her mother tells her that hero isn't a bad word. It's not a terrible thing, and I think that's that conversation is that she overhears with Costa is where her mother realizes that I may want to do good things with this, but I'm not sure I'm capable of doing good things with this. Yeah. And she is. And so how do I set her free to do that? Mm-hmm. And the answer is she has to die.
Or at least, set herself up to be arrested or taken in.
I think she knew that she was going to die. I think the whole going on the Ferris wheel at the end of this episode, that she knew that somebody was going to, they were coming with SWAT. They weren't going to take chances. She killed a cop. She was going to die.
Yeah.
Better to do it someplace I like, where I have memories and whatever, and let this be the end of it. Jessica gets on the Ferris wheel with her. And we're kind of waiting for the cops to show up. We hear the sirens.
In the
distance.
And Jessica's like, they're going to know that you're here. I mean, that she turned on all the lights, too.
Yeah. Mid-conversation, there's a gunshot. Her mother goes down. Mm-hmm. Jessica freaks out, looks over the side. I expected to see cops and SWAT.
Yeah. I think I kind of did, too.
Instead, we see Trish holding a gun. Trish thinking somehow that she was going to save Jessica.
And like I said, going back to where Costa said, Jessica's working with her mother, and just Trish refusing to believe that she just her single-minded righteousness for this entire season has been very, it's been heavy-handed. It's been really annoying. It's been, making us dislike a character that we really kind of
liked in the first season,
or at least we're neutral about. I mean, I didn't love her in the first season, but I wasn't. Right. I didn't hate her either. And this season just made me just dislike her completely. And so it was kind of the cherry on top of that dislike is that she should have listened to Detective Costa. I mean, what does a washed-up child star, pop sensation, quitter of a radio talk show have to know better than what a detective would know? Right. And I mean, just because she knows Jessica, she hasn't really shown that she's known her that well, at least not this season. So it feels like it's totally keeping in character with Patsy this season.
So we get a moment where Jessica jumps off the Ferris wheel to confront Trish. Mm-hmm. Trish, she tosses her quite a bit too.
Yeah.
And Trish says, I was trying to save you. She had to die. I didn't think you could do it. I didn't want you to have to do it or whatever. And she takes the gun from Trish and tells her to go because the cops are coming. And then she goes and gets back in the Ferris wheel where she waits for the cops to show. And the cops assume that she did it, that she took out her mother before her mother could hurt anybody else.
So Jessica's still being protective, she takes the rap knowing that it would be more believable and wanting to protect Trish, even though she can't.
Doesn't really like Trish.
Yeah, she can't stand her
so
now.
we get a moment at the end where Jessica and Trish do meet in the hallway, and Jessica tells her, because Trish says, I'm your sister, and she said, I look at you and the only thing I see is the woman who killed my mother. Which I think is telling. We also see that Jessica and Malcolm are still on the outs, and we know that Jessica misses him. There's a shot of her looking over at the desk. She doesn't know how to let people in, and she realizes, or is beginning to realize, that she's driven a bunch of people away.
Yeah.
That how she's behaved and how she's handled life up until this point have driven away the only people that probably cared about her. They were just as broken as she is, so who knows whether, she may be better off without them.
Yeah.
But we see some sorrow on her part that she's alone again.
Yeah, again. And, she even said, I didn't ever realize that was a choice that I made for myself, and now, after this time, I realize that that's how I've decided to act.
We see Jerry Hogarth setting up Hogarth and Associates.
Yeah.
Including her 6 o'clock, which ends up being Price, the PI.
Along with Malcolm.
Who now has Malcolm along as his associate. And Jerry is asking them to take care of something which seems like it might be shady.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I know that you're willing to use discretion. I'm not sure about your associate here. Malcolm says, is it legal? And she said, that's entirely up to you. So he says he's on board, and we don't know what any of that means.
Yeah, but I thought it was very interesting considering there was a very pointed conversation in one of the episodes about the colors that Jerry chooses to wear, and she is, always and ever she's in black. Always, that's just her power color, that's what she wears. And in this episode, she's in white.
Yeah.
It's an interesting,
and knows
knows
that she's not cured. She's got a journey down whatever.
Mm-hmm. We see her pills out on the desk, so it's not like she's hiding it anymore.
Right.
So that's interesting, but it's just kind of what kind of outlook does she have right now, and sort of thing. And again, this is not a character that we're inclined to care that much about, but it's interesting to know what's going on with her and trying to figure out what's happening there. So, I don't doubt that we will see her in upcoming Netflix Marvel stuff. So, we'll probably get like little hints of what's going on in her life there. Yeah. So that'll just, maybe we'll find out what Price and Malcolm are up to.
I did like earlier in the season when she had her moment with Foggy, because Foggy, very much being Foggy, is concerned about her and her health, and don't let them do this to you. We can figure this out. We can stand up together. And she's like, do you think we're friends? Like, she just kind of rolls off on him, and you can see he's not used to that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's totally her. Like, she's like, I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I can do this. And yet she goes to Jessica and wants help, and she, so she's very different and very unusual.
Yeah.
This season ends with Jessica leaving her apartment.
Looking at the time first.
Walking out of her apartment. She passes Malcolm in the hall. Oh, well, before we get to this, we need to go back to after her confrontation with Trish.
Yeah.
Trish leaves, goes to the elevator, and accidentally drops her phone as someone's coming out of the elevator.
I want to know who that person was.
And then...
what were they were shipping at 7 o'clock at night.
And then instinctively drops her phone, or as she drops her phone, instinctively catches it
on the tip of her toe.
And then flips it back up to her hand, which suggests she has some agility that she did not have before, and some instinct that she did not have before. So again, leading into that Hellcat persona.
And obviously they were hinting at it a while back. Jeff had recognized when she had taken on those 3 thugs earlier on that she kind of scratched claws. Yeah. And then when she woke up in the hospital, a doctor or a nurse said, hey, you've used up 2 of your 9 lives. And
lots of hints happening.
Lots of hints there. So we'll see what Patsy
will
be
up to. At this point, though, it almost feels like Hellcat would be more of a villain than a hero, because
maybe she will be.
And she may be someone who considers herself a hero, but is just off the rails.
Well, and that's the thing is that the conversation she had with Jessica, she's like, I just wanted to be the hero or something like that, and she's like, if your brand of hero is murder, then have at it. That's on you. And she's not wrong. So maybe it may be some sort of defunct sort of hero that's not able to do things right as a hero. It may be something that they're setting up possibly as some sort of villain or at least not a traditional villain, curling the things, but kind of a villain that we've seen in
Although
this
I
season.
hope after this season, I hope that they give us a traditional villain again.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get a traditional villain again, but Trish or Patsy looks like she's being set up to be at least some sort of antagonist for next time we see Jessica Jones in total, or at least maybe hints of her coming across in maybe the other Marvel Netflix series.
And then the final shot, which I wrote a note as very cute, was Jessica going down the hallway. She does pass Malcolm. They give each other a little bit of a look. And she actually looks back at Malcolm after she's already down the hall, which suggests that she does miss him some. And
gives him a second
and
look.
And all of that, gives him a second look. And then we see her at the superstore, and she knocks. There's a standing dinner invitation.
Yeah.
And she asks him, is it still an invitation? Still a standing invitation? He says, absolutely, Vito, get another plate. And we get to see her sit down with the super and his son, and engage in some nice conversation. The boy's thrilled that she's a hero, and he wants to know about, what adventures she had in the day, and she begins to tell him about a little scuffle that she had at the liquor store or whatever, the convenience store. And it was just a nice thing, like she actually maybe has some sort of normality in her life.
She smiled on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really cute, I thought.
Yeah, that was. I mean, so early on we said, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if this was just some sort of thing where we haven't finished season 1 yet, and we're going back to that, and that would have been awesome. However, I feel like this end was pretty satisfying. I mean, we got to see Jessica explore her past, kind of look at, the dark mirror of her mother and see how that kind of worked out for her. We did see everybody around her making horrible decisions, and this stuck since this is a real season and not a dream one.
Well, and as I said before, all these parallels between Jess and her mother, between Malcolm and Trish and the way that they handle their addictions, between Jerry and Inez and how they use people and how they deal with issues in their lives by sinking deeper into badness. But then also here at the end, we got a real parallel between Trish and her mother, because Trish is just as manipulative and just as much a user as her mother, and what her mother sees as fame and brands and all this stuff, Trish sees as hero and person of the people and all this. So she has her own idea of that, but it's the same nonsense. It's the same trouble. Yeah. And so I thought all that was done well too. Yeah, so not an uplifting season.
No.
Not a happy season. Not a season that ended with me going, wow, I love this good superhero yarn. But well written, well directed, a whole season full of female directors stepping up to the plate to make this season. I thought it was handled well. Yeah. It had a consistency to it in tone.
There's still purple happening even after.
Purple happening throughout. Yep. The episode with Tennant was handled so well, directed so well, acted so well. Yeah. That was a nice, and I felt like that was needed.
Yeah, and I could have had more Kilgrave. However, it was fine to be contained in that episode.
Right. I felt like the first half of the season was a little slower in build up. And I think these seasons are always like that. I think 13 episodes is maybe
a max.
3 episodes too many.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you tightened all of that up into like 9 or 10 episodes, you'd have a much tighter package, a much better, solid story. But you don't always know that. And I think you got so many moving parts in a series like this, that you've got this director doing their thing, and you've got this set of writers working on this episode,
you've got
trying to figure out how to pace it all out.
All the parallels that you're trying to draw between the characters, you need to have the time and the space to actually tell those stories, because you know what's going to happen is if it's condensed into 9 or 10, you're like, oh, they jumped from one story to the other and they didn't really take the time, and they didn't, so you kind of have to weigh that out. So I feel like 13 might be the max. I could be happier with
very little reference to of the events of the Defenders in this series.
So that's another thing that made us kind of think that it was
one reference that I caught, and some people seem to think that she was referencing Kilgrave. Her mother certainly did, but I thought her reference to last time someone wanted to team up with me and ended up with somebody dead, I thought she was talking about the Defenders because they assume that Matt is dead.
Yes.
So I felt like she was saying one thing and her mother was hearing something else.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong about that. I don't know what the writers intended, but that was how I took it. Mm-hmm. We did hear Rand mentioned, of course. Mm-hmm. Jerry was a part of that season as well.
Yep. Very.
But no real mentions of what happened with the Defenders. No mention of the hands, no mention of the collapse building that I saw, none of that stuff. So very interesting that they kind of downplayed all that and kept it really self-contained.
Yeah, I mean,
this is about Jessica, this is about her friends, this is about her world.
Right, I feel like this is, maybe, I don't know, like just looking at the time frames here was maybe like at the most 4 to 5 weeks of time. It wasn't like, stretched out over, months. And so it was easy. That would be easy to keep it self-contained and not necessarily have references to the other characters of the Defenders. So I felt like this is really satisfying. It wasn't, it wasn't meant for us to love all the characters, but I feel like the stories were told well and it was put together really well. Lighting, direction, sets, all of that, was pretty good, really good in a lot of aspects. Wardrobe choices, we had a little, I had nitpicks on that. And then of course the medical sets, I had, my little 2-minute
that could also be said of almost any series you've ever watched.
This is
something that's frequently wrong in series.
So,
I felt like it was solid overall. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed season 1. But that's primarily probably due to Kilgrave and that whole side of things. It was just a more entertaining story to me. I felt this was a good character study insofar as everyone making terrible choices, betraying themselves, betraying the people around them, just being awful people. However, this is life and that happens.
Yeah, life's messy.
So I'm fine with that mess so long as when they come back in season 3, we see some growth in people. I feel like we saw a little bit of growth in Jessica this season. I feel like everybody else, stuff happened to them and they reacted to it, but I don't feel like there was any personal growth. Like, I don't think Jerry's a better person. I don't think Malcolm is a better person. I don't think Trish is a better person for anything that happened this season.
No.
I want to see that. I want to see them having learned from the stupid things that they did and not continuing to be stupid. Yeah, so that's what I expect for season 3.
We'll have to see where they pick up in season 3. And have we even heard confirmation about season 3? At this point in time, I don't believe we have.
I would imagine we'll get a Defenders 2 before we get a season 3.
Yeah. Definitely that. We know now that Luke Cage is coming in May, so I'm pretty excited. The next season of Luke Cage is coming then.
We know they're filming Iron Fist now.
Yeah.
We know they're filming Punisher now.
Do we know when the next season of Daredevil is coming?
Daredevil, I believe, is finished filming already.
Okay, so it's
coming.
coming.
I don't know when it's coming.
Okay,
But, yeah, and we know that Vincent D'Onofrio is back as Wilson Fisk in season 3.
So that'll be really
That'll
interesting.
Be very exciting.
Yeah.
I would really like for them to, because Fisk is the kingpin of crime, I would love to see him at least have small parts to play in some of these other series as well.
Or at least
I can't
his
imagine
name.
Jessica being as involved as she is in cases around New York and not coming across Fisk at some point.
I'm willing to bet that that's probably going to be a line that we see in the Defenders.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to see that. Yeah, for sure.
So.
But I enjoyed Jessica Jones season 2.
I enjoyed it as well.
We rate things here a pop, or a fizzle. Either a pop if it was good. Catch it when you get a chance, double pop, see it now, or fizzle, don't waste your time. That's how we normally review movies. Looking at the season overall, I would say if you've seen Jessica Jones season 1 and you enjoyed it, then this is a pop for me. Like, see it. Take your time with it. You don't have to binge it like we did, but I feel like some of the storytelling, because of the pacing being what it is, I think it may suffer for taking your time with it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. I believe that they make these series for Netflix to be binged. So, catch 2 or 3 episodes at a time. That's not an awful way to fill a night.
Yeah, it's not quite a double pop for me, but that's only because, as I said, pacing wise, it suffers a little bit. Technically, I thought it was great, kind of all across the board, but I did have some pacing issues, and it's hard to slog through a series wherein people are so self-destructive that it's hard not to feel frustrated. Like I call me old-fashioned, but I like my heroes to be heroes, and I don't mind Jessica being a flawed hero. That's fine. I don't need Jessica to be Captain America.
No.
But I do need Jessica to grow and to be at least somewhat of a better person than she's been. And I need her to either help the people around her be better or to get them gone, because you can't function as a person if you keep that kind of chaos around you all the time. And so I feel like they need to grow and get better. I think especially if they're going to try to make Patsy Walker, Hellcat, into a hero, that I feel like they need to do something better with her character. I thought she was pretty dang unlikable this season. Very frustrating.
I like Jerry Hogarth better than I liked her this season.
I don't like Jerry Hogarth at all, but that's okay.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
But I did enjoy watching the series. I think if you enjoyed season 1, you'll enjoy watching it too. It's not a stop what you're doing and start watching it right now, but it is if you enjoyed it, take your time, watch it. If you like the Marvel Netflix shows, this is right in line with that. Yeah. And I think that you'll enjoy that. How would you?
I would say it's a little bit more than a pop, but definitely not a double pop for me.
Gotcha.
Not even like a pop and a half.
Just like a pop and then a P. Pop. Pop.
A little extra on the P at the end there.
Gotcha.
But like Jeff said, if you really enjoyed season 1 of Jessica Jones, if you like these Netflix Marvel series, this is something that you'll enjoy. Definitely worth watching a couple at a time to kind of just get yourself through it and see where this character goes throughout this. If you're listening to our recommendation to watch it and you haven't watched it already, what'd you do that for? But that's, that might be, if you want to just say, hey, the reviewers that we watch say you should watch it and try to convince somebody else to do it, go for it. Yeah.
Now, as far as, just kudos really quickly to the cast and crew who put the show together.
Yeah, great job,
really
guys.
well done.
Yeah.
Really, kudos to everybody who got behind the camera and directed these episodes. To have, you hear about in Hollywood, it's really hard for women to get in the director's chair and to make a name for themselves. I love the fact that they were able to do that with this series.
And
really a testament to the fact that you can find people to. I mean, there wasn't an episode of this that I felt like was out of kilter with everything else or anything like solid directing throughout.
But the thing is, I thought was really interesting is that they also didn't megaphone that. It was just
they mentioned it a time or two on social media or whatever.
But that's kind of it.
But I mean, that was international. It was International Women's Day. They made note of that or whatever.
Yeah,
that's
it was
fine.
Just well done.
But it was just really well done. Yeah. So it didn't matter at the end of the day who directed it. It just mattered that it was done well. The fact that it was all women, kudos to everybody behind the camera there. And kudos to the crew and the actors and actresses for giving us some compelling storytelling, really with some unlikable situations this season, but still making us come back and want to see how things wrap up. So, kudos to everybody for that. So let us know below in the comments, what did you think about this season? Did you like the way it wrapped up? Did you think it should have gone a different direction? Did you want a mustache-twirling villain? Or were you okay with having just an antagonist that wasn't actually a quote-unquote villain?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, tell us what you thought also about just, any individual character decisions that you may or may not have liked. Or, if you didn't agree with us on what we had to say about those characters, let us know that. We'll be happy to entertain those comments as well. That's fine.
Yeah.
But, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up.
That's right. And consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us do videos like this, as well as some of the trailer reactions and movie reviews and all those sorts of things that we do. And if you're already subscribed, click the little bell icon so you can be notified the next time we drop a video. Now, we know while we're on Marvel News that an Infinity War trailer is coming tomorrow. We will be sure and react to that trailer and let you know what we think about that. So come back tomorrow for that. In the meantime, bye.
Thanks, everyone.